Now it's time to begin today's session on 1.5-degree lifestyle, co-creation of decarbonized society through collaboration among citizens, business, and government. I will be serving as a moderator. My name is ASAKAWA from IGES. First, to give you an overview of this session, I'd like to talk about the purpose of today's session. In recent years, we talk about the decarbonization of the society, and we discuss a lot about the approaches. To create decarbonized society, there are several approaches. And in this 1.5-degree lifestyle project, we are focusing on the citizens as end consumers of products and services. And we believe that their lifestyle must be transformed to create a decarbonized society. And if the citizens have to make effort, or if the lifestyle is too difficult to achieve, then we cannot realize a decarbonized society. So we must make such lifestyle sustainable. And if that's the case, then decarbonized lifestyle is necessary not only to decarbonize the society, but also to improve our way of living. I just launched the 1.5-degree lifestyle project, which is built through citizens' participation. And we are currently conducting workshops with citizens and home-based experiments for people to practice 1.5-degree lifestyle, through which we are drafting proposals reflecting the citizens' feedbacks. In this session, we will introduce proposals for city-level implementation of 1.5-degree lifestyle by 2030. This will be followed by a deeper panel discussion about the co-creation of decarbonized lifestyle based on collaboration among various stakeholders, including citizens, business, and government, as set in the proposal. We have one panelist from each sector. Now, to frame our discussion, I'd like to call upon Dr. Atsushi WATABE, Program Director, Sustainable Consumption and Production Area, IGES, to give an overview of the 1.5-degree lifestyle project. Dr. WATABE, the floor is yours.
Thank you for your introduction. I am Watabe, a Program Director of Sustainable Consumption and Production Area, IGES. I'd like to talk about 1.5 degrees lifestyles project and what we've done through student participation and home-based experiments and what's in it for the future. 1.5 Lifestyles project of IGES. We citizens in our daily lives, what kind of impact we are bringing about in terms of climate change. And we use the concept lifestyle carbon footprint. We analyze the footprint and then we think about future actions together with the citizens. Carbon footprint is the GHG emissions throughout the lifestyle, life cycles, including indirect emissions, which include production, distribution, and discarding of the products and services we purchase. And in this perspective, each person in Japan is emitting 7.6 tons of CO2 because of the consumption of food and housing, mobility, consumer goods, and etc. And how big is this 7.6 tons per capita in Japan? So in order to suppress the temperature rise under 1.5 degrees globally, what should be the necessary CO2 emissions reductions? And upon the basis of that calculation, by 2030, globally, 2.5 tons per capita, and we have to go down to 0.7 tons per capita by 2050. That is the reduction that is needed. So by 2030, we have to bring it down to 1/3 of the current level. So in our lives, we can reduce carbon footprint in many sectors. For instance, we can reduce car driving, and we can switch to power that comes from renewable energy sources. We can change our diet pattern, reducing red meat consumption and eat more vegetables and so on and so forth. These are quite effective for reducing CO2 emissions. So we call upon people to do that, and it's good for global warming suppression. Even if we make that call, there is no guarantee that people would follow, because in our daily life, we have options that are not determined by our own will. That depends on natural conditions and infrastructure, what kind of services are available, what are the rules at the workplace, school, and also in the local community, and not oneself, but the needs of our family members and neighbors' needs. They all need to be taken into consideration. Therefore, it's important for us to think about what can be changed, but it's also important to share those ideas within the local community. And that way, we'll be able to create a 1.5-degree lifestyle that is fitting to each local community. Based on such an idea, across 5 countries, 6 cities, we have conducted workshops through citizens' participation and also home-based experiments. And I'd like to give you a brief explanation of the process implemented in 6 cities. So carbon footprint differs from area to area. So we calculate the carbon footprint in each area and each city. What kind of actions can be effective for that particular city? We create a material, and then based on that, we hold online meeting. Well, this year, we can think about face-to-face meetings, but then we gathered online for the workshop to think about what could be the future course of actions in that city. And then the results of the discussions will be brought back to each household. And then those new lifestyles actions will be tried out for 2 weeks or 1 month. And then the results will be brought back to once again the workshop to see what is possible and what is not possible to create a vision for decarbonization towards 2030 and 2050. So this is a process. For instance, this can be one result, and this is a result of a workshop in Kyoto. On the vertical axis, we have a mitigation potential through one action. And yellow dots, they are relevant to houses. And then each action of housing sector can be quite effective. On the horizontal axis, we have adoption rate expected. That is based upon the discussions of the workshop participants. So those highly effective actions may not be implemented by everyone. We probably need to have a variety of supports for citizens to practice those actions. Next is about home-based experiments for 2 weeks. So what were tried and whether they were possible or not, and then what were the difficulties implementing those actions, and what are the new lessons learned. They were written in the form of diaries. As you can see, bulk purchase to reduce opportunities to move around, and also diet pattern can be changed from more meat-oriented to vegetable-oriented, and that could be done in a short period of time, because it's about shopping, it's about eating, and if you decide to do that, individual can already act upon that. That's according to the result report. But on the other hand, home-based experiments were tried, and we came to learn what could be difficult. Car sharing, I am interested, but I didn't know where to have access to car sharing. And then vegetarian food, where can we buy it? And vegetables and seafoods are too expensive. Or also in the area of food, I can reduce my meat consumption, but my children, it's difficult to tell them not to eat meat. And bottom left corner, we have a housing sector. the installation cannot be determined right away, or installation of solar panels is not possible because the house is being rented. So there are many hurdles. Therefore, each person's efforts can be limited to shift towards 1.5 degrees lifestyle. And of course, individuals working on those things, that's important, but those actions tried out should be shared in the local community through the schools and etc. to see what are possible and what are not possible. And then as a result, we should also communicate with businesses about desirable services and also products, and also to the local government. We should approach to reduce the costs of public transportation system and so on and so forth. So we need to have cross-sectoral approach. So this was done in 5 countries as a part of the United Nations program. As a result, the vision for 2030 decarbonization was complete from 6 cities, and they have been published already. This is an example from Yokohama. To the left, you can see the carbon footprint in the city of Yokohama. And upon the basis of this, as you can see, top right, the city of Yokohama, what is the ideal vision of the city that was drawn up by the citizens of Yokohama? And then what is the 1.5 degrees lifestyle in Yokohama? What are the opportunities there? Together with the numbers and the data, we have the scenario for the city. And apart from that, based on the results of the experiments and also workshops, we have made policy proposals, and then those diaries, descriptions at home. 1.5 degrees lifestyles are not about endurance, but these are the things where they can learn from each other. They can work together with the people that they didn't know before. So this is the thing we can work on together. And that is what is written in this 1.5 Degrees Lifestyles magazine. We also created those books for kids, and we also delivered classes to junior high schools. So talking about the future course, right now in 2 cities in Kyushu, we have the workshops as well as the home-based experiments. And in Tohoku region, this methodology will be applied for the regional decarbonization plan formulation. And in Yokohama and Kyoto, based on the results of the citizens' workshops, we will work together with the businesses to come up with 1.5 degrees lifestyles, products and services to be created in Yokohama and Kyoto, and we'd like to begin dialogue with the citizens of those cities to work together with the businesses. And that's really all about my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Watabe. As you heard in the presentation, how can we realize decarbonization of society? I think that citizens hold the key. The GHG emission comes from the coal burning, and steel is the representative industry. Where is the steel used? Steel is used in automobile industry. So maybe what about lifestyle where we don't buy private cars? If we refrain from buying cars, then we can reduce the steel production, which can reduce GHG emission. So shift of lifestyle of individuals will be necessary in Japan, as well as in overseas. That would lead to GHG emission reduction. In our workshop, we talk about the lifestyle that citizens can commit to. And in realizing that individuals cannot achieve that themselves. So as Dr. Watabe said, we need the support from the administration as well. So what kind of support can be extended? We want to talk about that in our panel discussion. So we will ask the panelists to introduce themselves. and also initiatives toward the decarbonized society. First, from the citizen and consumer side, I'd like to invite Ms. Chisato Murakami, and she is the chairperson of Committee on Environment, Nippon Association of Consumer Specialists. She joined IBM Japan in 1987, and then in 1992, she started working for an environmental NGO. As an NGO staff, she was engaged in establishing Global Environment Outreach Center, a joint initiative of UNU and the Ministry of the Environment. Since 2003, she has been Secretariat General of Japan Council on Education for Sustainable Development, and since 2016, she has served as Deputy Director General for establishing ESD Resource Center of Japan. Since 2019, she has been the facilitator for Next Generation Energy Workshop and Decarbonization Kawasaki Citizens Assembly at the Institute for Dialogue of Environmental Policy. Now the floor is yours. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I'd like to share my screen. I'm Murakami. I am from the Committee on Environment, Nippon Association of Consumer Specialists. Thank you very much for this opportunity today. As introduced, I'd like to talk about this organization, NACS, as well as the initiative between the citizen sector and consumers at the Institute for Dialogue of Environmental Policy. First, to introduce NACS, as you can see from the name of the organization, we have consumer lifestyle advisors, consultants, and counselors. There are 3 different licenses, and these licensed persons are the members of NACS. There are about 2,400 members are working in the education and awareness building, as well as consultations for consumers. When it comes to consumer education, you might think about averting consumer troubles, but we are also focusing on green consumer activities since the 1990s, which is about eco-friendly and socially conscious lifestyle and consumption. In the Committee on Environment, we are working on learning about life cycle of products. So we have had workshops and study sessions with private companies, and food loss and ethical consumption are the keywords in this area, and a lot of members are working on this. As a part of these initiatives, since the Energy Basic Act was revised last year, we have been trying to raise awareness among the educators on carbon neutrality. We started a series of lectures on this topic, and in the second lecture, we had Kojima-san from IGES to talk about 1.5-degree lifestyle. And we learned that there are many things that we can do to achieve this. And residences, food, and transportation are some of the areas that would have great impact on achieving this. So we are learning about these areas. And as Kojima-san introduced in a joint research, we learned that even if consumers want to make these choices, these services and products may not be provided, and these services may not be accessible. So there are some environmental restrictions and limitations. So we have learned that we need to call upon these corporations and businesses so that they would offer such services and products. The next one I would like to introduce is climate assemblies. As many of you may know, President Macron and the House of Commons in the UK have randomly selected some members from the citizen, about 150 members, to have discussion on climate. This inspired Japan to also start the citizen assemblies in Hokkaido. Hokkaido University faculty members started that, and another one called Climate Youth Conference was held. The members were not randomly chosen, but we solicited young people from nationwide to have this conference. And Kawasaki Decarbonization Citizens Assembly, we worked with an organization in Kawasaki to have this assembly from May till October this year. And October 11th, this proposal was submitted to the mayor of Kawasaki. The members of the assembly were randomly selected from citizens. We invited them, and then in the end, 75 people decided to join us. There were 6 assemblies, and based on them, we formulated our proposals. For example, the experts gave their opinions, and then citizens discussed, and citizens also showed their intentions and voted on these ideas and further deepened their discussion before coming up with a proposal. Eventually, on transportation, residence, consumption, and cross-sectoral. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Murakami-san. So you are very proactive in trying to raise awareness among citizens. I have been very much impressed because it's not an easy work. I'm aware of it. So you're very powerful. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, from the business side, from Taiyo Juken Company Limited, CEO Mr. Yuki Kawahara is here with us. So he has led the town development project Solar Crew through his own business. And the project received the 8th Good Life Award from the Minister of the Environment. He also serves as the representative director of Living Lab Support Office, the regional coordinator of the Yokohama SDGs Design Center, and the director of the certified NPO Shimin Sector Yokohama. So he is a very active. Appreciate this opportunity. I would like to introduce to you our company's initiatives. Let me share the screen. I hope you can see it. I am Kawahara from Taiyo Juken. Once again, nice to meet you. So we are in the construction sector. And this year is the 13th term. We are a small company. We have 8 employees. And we are looking at the community. Through our own business, we would like to address the challenges of the community. So we joined the local firefighters group, and we are focusing on employment of people living with disabilities and using vacant houses that are available in the local community. All of these done through our own business. So I'd like to talk about 2 major things. One is energy business. The other one is vacant house usage. These are the 2 pillars of our business. So as for energy business, for the construction of the energy facilities, we make use of the power of the people with disability. Construction is something that the people may have thought that those people with disabilities may not be easy to handle. Oftentimes people said that. But we've been doing this for 6 years, and we are working together with those people with disabilities, and we have created the work scheme that is possible for those people. So we have those people who transport those solar panels, and those people who paint the waterproof paint. So we have those different smaller modules of work. And when solar panels are removed, and those panels need to be inspected after 20 years. We thought that 20 years can be a very good milestone. So we asked each member to write a letter addressed to me in 20 years. And we work together with hospitals and also care homes. We get work from those facilities. Therefore, we distribute the batteries so that power is always available in the community. So this is a project to distribute the power, give out the power to the local community. Another one is a solar crew project, which is a vacant house project. So this is in Isogo ward in Yokohama City. We have been working on vacant houses. And one thing is that I have been involved in reconstruction after disaster. Vacant homes by 2031 out of the 3 will be vacant. So there will be more and more vacant houses. When I went to help reconstruction, I thought that the community was not fit for disaster risk reduction. So we have more and more vacant houses. So if we can put solar panels and introduce seismic, anti-seismic shelters to provide better disaster risk management, that can be a good idea, we thought. So that is a scheme for solar crew. And we provide 3 experiences. So to make something, it is do-it-yourself thing. They come together to construct, and then after this house is made, they can use it for cooking classes and others. And then such centers, they can use them, but they can get together there to address communities' challenges. In the city of Yokohama, as has been touched upon already, this is a method of living lab to address the challenges. Through construction, people can get connected and the community will emerge in those local areas. And then we address challenges. And at the time of the disaster, we open up those centers for people to evacuate into. So these can be the disaster management centers. We have a lot of media coverage of the solar crew project. So from this perspective, I have introduced to you some of the projects we are pursuing towards decarbonization. That is all from me. I'm looking forward to the pursuing panel discussion later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kawahara-san. So it's a very good example of the community business. There are challenges in local communities and climate issue. There are only few companies that are mainstreaming such core challenges as business. So I hope that we will see more of companies like yours in the future. Next, from the administration side, I would like to invite Ms. Yumiko Niwa from SDGs Future City Promotion Division Climate Change Policy Headquarters at Yokohama City Government. She graduated from university with a law degree in 2014 and started her career at Yokohama City Government in the same year. After experiencing several departments, she is now in the SDGs Future City Promotion Division. The floor is yours. Thank you very much. I'm Niwa from the SDGs Future City Promotion Division of Yokohama City Government. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'd like to share my screen now. Thank you for waiting. So from the administration perspective, I'd like to talk about our initiative as Yokohama City on decarbonization. Renewable energy is now being promoted and expanded as a part of the decarbonization effort. In order to shift the consumed electricity 100% to renewable electricity, we are promoting the switch to renewable electricity and introduction of solar power plant in a campaign. We have the joint purchase project of renewables. For example, there are households that want to use eco-friendly nature-based electricity such as solar and wind power. And we are promoting joint purchases of such electricity in order to make the cost cheaper. And we have two different menus. One is 30% renewables, and the other is 100% renewables. And this is the citizen-based campaign. And the second is the joint purchase of solar power generators and the storage battery. The more people participate, the cheaper the solar panel and storage battery becomes. We were able to reduce the price of solar power generation system by 30%. And we also worked with the Yokohama City businesses. Toward the businesses in the city, we provided integrated information on the renewable electricity. And to those businesses that switched to renewables, we sent out our appreciation letter. This is a part of our effort to switch electricity source to renewables. And our effort is not limited to Yokohama City. We are working with 13 municipalities and Tohoku, which started in 2019. This is about regional, circular, and ecological sphere concept, and we have the agreement on renewable energy usage with these municipalities. We are trying to expand the supply of renewables from these locations to Yokohama City. First, from Yokohama town of Aomori Prefecture, we started supply of renewables to Yokohama City. This is the press release. You can see 6 different businesses that participated in this program. And as many of you know, we have PPA business as well. The developers can install a solar energy system on a property, and host customer can purchase the power generated in the system. The benefit of this system is that the property side does not need to own the system, which means that the property side does not need to make initial investment or carry out maintenance continuously. So we have started this program, and we will be targeting 65 elementary and junior high schools in the city to go about this program. And we also installed EV charger in public road. More than 200 times a month, the chargers have been used. So I think that EVs are really expanding in the city. And another program is that we are trying to shift all the electricity used in city-owned facilities to 100% renewables by 2050. First, as the first step, we will be switching to renewables 100% in the city office. And in the ward office as well, we are planning to go de facto renewable 100% in the FY 2021. Now, Yokohama City and private companies have established this Yokohama SDGs Design Center. In and out of the city, we are matching the needs and seeds so that we can create a circular economy and create integrated solution. This is an intermediary organization to achieve that. In the environmental sector, we are taking initiatives as one stakeholder. There are various activities taken, as you can see on the slide. Briefly, why SDGs is a certification system. To those companies that are taking initiatives on SDGs, the administration carries out assessment on 4 criteria on 30 items, and one of the criteria is environment. We would like to continue with this certification program as well. So that was the quick run through. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Niwa-san. The city of Yokohama is very much advanced in terms of global warming measures, and the policies of Yokohama are always quite impressive. The city of Yokohama is doing very well. It's really leading others. They are very proactive. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So, as moderator, I would like to ask you some questions. First, to Murakami-san. Decarbonization Citizens Council. You set up a really impressive council where so many citizens come together for 6 meetings in a row. How can you secure continuity of such citizens meetings? We had 2 workshops and also home-based experiments, and citizens, we call upon citizens to come along. But actually, it's always difficult to gather as many people as possible. So how can you realize involvement of citizens? What kind of changes citizens are feeling after this initiative? Yeah, thank you for your question. That was the first trial, and 75 people who took part. We were wondering how many of them will stay until the end. We wanted to avoid dropouts as much as possible. So that was the biggest focus of ours. So what kind of changes, and after the completion, the participants, what did they feel? Decarbonization and global warming were not their areas of interest. But then once they started to discuss those things with others, they got to know that there are a lot of people who were seriously thinking about those things, and they were very much inspired, and they wanted to start from whatever they can do. So these are the comments we received. So in small groups, those participants talk to each other about their own ideas, and they met for the first time, but then they started to get to know each other, and they get to know that there are a lot of people who are working on these challenges. And I think that motivated a lot of citizens. And then we got a lot of participation from experts. They provided information, and when there are questions in between the meetings, the responses were submitted by those experts. So we really appreciate the participation of those experts. That's a kind of an intellectual stimulus that has led to the motivation of the citizens as well. Thank you very much. So I think operation-wise, you may have come up with a lot of interesting ideas. So it's workshops are very good because citizens can learn from each other, and in a way that was not expected by us at the beginning. So I think that is a very good outcome. Thank you very much. So Kawahara-san, I have a question to you. Using vacant houses, and Solar Crew is the project name. Decarbonized society, to realize that sense of ownership is very important, and each citizen needs to be proactive. So what's your thoughts? And what are the things you are especially paying attention to in terms of sense of ownership? Yes, a sense of ownership is something that we wanted to foster. That is the biggest theme of the Solar Crew project. And vacant houses is a social problem. That is kind of too serious as a start. DIY, what are we going to do? We will break down walls, or we will come together to construct solar panels. And then we provide descriptions of meetings, like you can bring along your kids. So clear cut and sound fun, that's very important. They come along, they construct something together. So they make something. They make something. This means that they are creators in terms of SDGs, SDGs 11, the town where you can live forever. And if you are waiting, this will never be made. And then a Solar Crew approach from the creator side and address the issue of SDG 11. That is the project Solar Crew. And once we construct the solar power panels, they would understand the flow of electricity. And then installing 3 solar panels, still the power generated is this much, so small. That's why we have to reduce the consumption of electricity. That's how they would understand it's also to do with them. So this is a kind of place, a hub for the people to learn that. And whatever is made, they share, like for cooking classes, and they come to relax. And businesses and companies, this is a place where they can work. So citizens share the place where they can relax. This is a place where businesses can share for work. So rather than creating many buildings, but whatever exists are renovated and shared by everyone. So that is from the perspective of sharing economy. This can lead to the sense of ownership you've been talking about. So Solar Crew project, through that, we foster sense of ownership. So we will remain focused on this point.
Thank you very much for that. As we heard from you in the presentation, you also work with persons with disability. So I think that you're very elaborate in designing the system. The sense of ownership among citizens. I think that the citizens who are participating, they have to be able to enjoy that. I think that's an important concept. They are enjoying themselves. That's why they are engaged. And that's kind of a virtual cycle is being created because you are very good at designing such a system. Thank you. Next, Nima-san, from the administration perspective, in order to achieve a decarbonized society, you probably work with people, the citizens in different communities and corporations. You will have to collaborate with all these different stakeholders. In the city of Yokohama, what do you think about the collaboration with citizens and corporations outside of the city government? Thank you very much for your question. In the city of Yokohama, we have the suburbs and then the waterfront urban area near Minato Mirai. In the city or urban area, as many of you know, there are many corporations, headquarters, and branches of companies. So in the urban waterfront area, we are promoting the switch to renewables to businesses. So initiatives toward businesses are even more important in the urban area. But in Yokohama City, we have suburbs with farms and housing complexes. There are lands that are not fully utilized, including detached houses. So in these areas, the solar power system installation, as well as give incentives to people. And that's how we want to go about our activities. As for businesses, more than 99% of companies in Yokohama City are small and medium enterprises. So as Yokohama City, we have to carry out more activities targeting SMEs. Those companies, there are various companies. And in order to approach these companies, we need to also think about the shift in the mindset of individual citizens. So, as the administration, we want to promote the changes in the mindset on decarbonization. And by so doing, we hope that the citizens will change things in their households, which would lead to the changes in businesses, and then eventually to changes in city of Yokohama. That's how we want to promote changes toward decarbonized society. Thank you very much. You talked about incentives. as I said at the beginning, it must be sustainable, which means that we cannot really continue making a lot of effort. We need motivations. It needs to be fun. We need incentives. So I think that's a common concept. Now, Murakami-san, in order to motivate the citizens, in order to maintain the motivation of citizens, and looking at their individual lifestyles, what do you think is something that can keep their motivation? What do you think is letting people enjoy themselves? Well, not through the activity, but in NACS, in my organization, I am working with people who are eco-conscious, and we have been learning together, researching, and we have been exchanging opinions together with experts. So I am doing this continuously because I have peers who are doing this with me. So the activities may not sound interesting to others, but we ask questions ourselves and try to come to an answer together. And pursuing that with peers becomes a motivation. And I think that Kawahara-san is creating such a conducive environment with a lower hurdle for the general public. That is very impressive. Yes, increasing the number of peers and friends. I think that Kawahara-san's activity has also led to increasing these peers. So from that perspective, do you have some ideas, Kawahara-san? Yes, thank you. Indeed, we are doing these constructions and activities. So we are not sitting at the table. We are not talking at the table, but in DIY, we are connecting the dots. We paint the wall and we assemble the desk as we discuss together. So we have quite active discussion as we do these things. And in Yokohama, I am the team leader of the green activity in order to solicit more peers. And we are collecting garbage, which is an activity that anyone can participate. Elderly people, children, and persons with disability, everyone can come together and pick up garbage. That's what we are doing. And to connect people, for example, the combustible, non-combustible garbage, and we have bins and cans and the bottles, and you can only have one bag. And so if you have a combustible bag and if you need to throw away some bottles, then you have to go to some other person who has the bag. And then you start talking to each other and become peers. So Solar Crew, including the garbage collection activity, are all about gathering with peers and people with empathy and people with high civic pride can come together and be connected. And I think that this is also promoting my own activity. So this is a very important perspective.
Thank you very much. That's really impressive. Communication is also created through a system and a mechanism. It's very skillful, really. And creating peers and friends. And through productive activities, people can get to know each other and be friends. That's great. So through one activity, you are bringing about 2 or more benefits, not just cleaning up the town, and people can get to know each other and be friends. So there are many benefits. It's very impressive. In terms of creating peers, from citizens to homes, from homes to communities. Miwa-san, you have been talking about that. And horizontal deployment or expansion. From that perspective, do you have any comments? Yes, as initiatives, I showed you the slide, citizens, for citizens and for companies. We have many different approaches. And as the administrative body, we provide incentives for citizens and companies to really work on this important challenge. Citizens and companies and the administrative body, as Kawahara-san has pointed out, citizens can get connected with businesses, and as the administrator, go-between person, and it's like Kawahara-san, there are some businesses who are active already, but activities are not very much deployed across different citizens towards decarbonization. Therefore, if that is the case, as the administrative body, for instance, the mission of the company, if it's fitting, and if there is some intention to work on some initiatives, we would like to work together with the companies. Thank you very much. So from the floor, we have one question coming in. Climate change, decarbonization. This person is interested in that, and his or her question is about how to make best use of senior citizens. Senior citizens. Kawahara-san, do you have any ideas of how to best use of the power of senior citizens? Yes, that's a very important perspective. In our activities, people with disabilities, and we have construction opportunities for them. But not just that, using Google, we find those care facilities and hospitals where we can place solar power panels on top of the roofs. And then that way we can provide more offers for people with disabilities. And such Google materials and finding places for solar power, those people who approach those facilities, and also Google how to use it. Actually, these are the people, senior people who are contributing to this kind of project. Those in their 80s, they support those people with disabilities in finding the place for more solar panels. And from that perspective, we are promoting our business. So we are already collaborating with senior citizens. Thank you very much. So workshops, when you organize workshops, oftentimes those people who come are senior citizens. But those in their 60s, I ask, well, what would be your life like in 2050? But I hesitate to ask that question to those people who are in their 60s or over. Murakami-san, would you like to say something about that? Well, thank you very much. Well, but the organizers are also in their 50s or 60s, many of us. So 30 years on, are we still going to be around? Yeah, we just all laugh about it. But still, for children as well as for their grandchildren, of course, I'm sure that we are all concerned about next generations with the sense of ownership. We will still be able to take part. Because it's 30 years on, I have nothing to do with that. Some people just laugh at that. But then if you think about your own family, they can still imagine the future. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's true. Yes, for your grandchildren, what kind of society you'd like to pass on to your grandchildren? That should be the approach of a question. And Niwa-san at Yokohama City, senior citizens, do you have any collaboration with senior citizens in terms of the lifespan collaboration?
Thank you very much. A collaboration with senior citizens, but we don't have a particular program for senior citizens on decarbonization. So I apologize. There's nothing like that for now, but as Murakami-san said, through their grandchildren, they can understand that climate change issue is important. And looking at their grandchildren, the people are being more aware that they have to work on this. So the grassroots initiatives and efforts are not meaningless. So from the administration perspective, we can do that through children in schools to approach senior citizens. They may not participate in these activities, but if we can raise their awareness, then that will be a starting point. Thank you. Thank you for that. So, collaboration with citizens in a wide sense is necessary. So, I think that is one challenge in collaborating outside of your city government. So, this is just an hour session. So, we are approaching the end of the session. Thank you very much for many opinions. I hope that the collaboration among the citizens, business, and the government will be promoted so that the decarbonization dialogue will be progressing. So we talked about the co-creation of decarbonized society through collaboration among citizens, business, and the government. Thank you very much for joining us today, and I would also like to thank the panelists as well. This concludes today's session. Thank you.